Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. Let's take a look at all the crashes from the early year categories from January and February, starting with the Formula 4 UAE as the youngsters get underway, some more eagerly than others. We will also be looking at the Formula Regional Middle East and Oceania, Asian Le Mans and the Bathurst 12 Hours, so make sure you subscribe. Two of the title contenders collide. The contact was only slight, but Al-Azhari was out. These two are teammates, but Max Popov comes off worse. Two more do the exact same thing at the exact same corner. This corner seems to have caused plenty of issues for the young drivers. Another two tangle here on their way in instead of on the way out. Meanwhile, Everett Stack is having issues elsewhere, hitting the wall at the W Hotel. Rodella and Murad had their own problems. Sack the cameraman for missing the start of this crash. This is the real madness of Formula 4. Another massive jump start, followed by absolute chaos. Rashid Al-Dahiri coming off worse. Let's try another start and see if we can make it past the first corner. Nope, there is always someone, or several someones as it turns out. And more contact. And a great slide. Drifting is in Murad's future, I think. Gabriel Stilp has a broken front wing, but still goes for the dive. Better luck next time. Somehow Siworven getting tangled up as well. And another three cars getting caught up and exiting the race. Thiago Rodriguez is the car going for the big move on the inside. Deegan Fairclough, the unlucky victim. Come on boys, keep it PG. Now for one of the big moments in the championship. Freddie Slater and Keanu Al-Azhari, title contenders, collide and almost hand the title to Keen Nakamura Berta. Restrepo gives Everett Stack the cold shoulder. Instant regret just a corner later as he nearly flips upside down. Whilst difficult in the dry, in the rain, it's a nightmare. I don't know what happened to Kai Darianani, but I'm sure it's not good. And our friend Everett Stack loses it again at high speed. Popov spins in front of the field and somehow doesn't get tagged. What's happening here? The Santaloc teammates Restrepo and David getting caught up on the main straight. Zach Skula gets turned at the final corner, possibly by Seb Murray. Nicolas Stati spins on his own. Thiago Rodriguez slides sideways into the back of Quintarelli. And yet they both somehow survive. Make sure you're looking at the back of the field because that is where the magic happens. I don't think Penn and Teller would be too impressed. So we'll leave Formula 4 with Gabriel Stilp jumping over Thiago Rodriguez and move on to the bigger brother of Middle East race series. And we start with the R&B teammates colliding. How Teofil Nile and Valerio Rinicella don't make contact here is a miracle. But then they get even closer, and I'm sure words were said after this close call. James Wharton goes for the big dive and collides with teammate Rafael Camara. Teammates colliding appears to be a theme. And this Teofil Nile and Rinicella feud is about to escalate once again. Nile spinning Rinicella out the way. And here is Rinicella again, this time taken out by Brando Badoa. Gets spat out of the field and hit the wall hard. Bad idea. Taylor Barnard is a great driver. It's not like him to spin on his own, but at least he kept it out of the wall. I think that might be Rinicella getting bounced again. James Wharton colliding with another of his teammates. This time, Ugo Ugochukwu loses out. John Bennett spins in front of the field and is another lucky to be avoided. I'm sure something is happening, but there's so much locking up I can't actually see anything. Noah Lyle and Arvid Lindblad somehow avoid having a massive crash, even surviving the sand on the outside of the track. Contact between John Bennett and Ab Cassava seemed inevitable here. I think this may have been on purpose. Didn't really do either of them any favours. Jesse Carrasquedo prefers doing it alone. Ab Cassava must have been keeping everyone awake with his saxophone solos because he sure seems to be a target. Bruno Del Pino was leading when his suspension collapsed. Very unfortunate. This corner continues to cause issues. John Bennett out again. Bora also getting turned round. Another MP spun by Teofil Nile. I don't really know what happened here. Gal Ugia spins and several others join him in sympathy. They sure do make a mess, leaving bits of car behind. Remember the sand? Well, Brando Badoa one's ride and spins in the desert. His dad would be proud. Keep your eyes on the back of the field. More contact, more cars off, more chaos. Let's leave the Middle East for now and head to New Zealand. Let's see if they can do starts any better in New Zealand. Nope. American Titus Sherlock bounces off Nicholas Lecorte and out the race. Hopefully he can deduce how it happened. Lucas Feckery is going to spend a lot of time in the outfield. Trust me. Christian Mansell pushes Elliot Cleary into the air and parks up his damaged car. Landon Matriano Lim hides his shame in a cloud of smoke. Titus Sherlock spins again, but does very well to get it pointing in the right direction. Gerard Shee was leading the race until he wasn't. And again, the rest of the field did a fantastic job to avoid him. And that is Jet Bowling getting a gutter ball. Shin does a sweet 720-degree spin and even overcomes the dizziness to continue. And our friend Lucas Feckery again, losing it on the wet curbs and spinning onto the grass. Same race and the Brazilian is off again. He could have won this race on a ride-on lawnmower. Michael Shin out of control again, and this time he collects Nicholas Lecorte to join him in the tyres. Tommy Smith with a very neat pirouette, and he continues on. Gerard Shee tries to move past Matriano Lim, but overcooks it and goes for a spin, taking a sign with him for good measure. Michael Shin running wide again, surviving the dirt and continuing a lot lower down than he started. We've seen a lot of Gerard Shea in this video, but he had a bigger crash here, launching off the back of Patrick Wood's Tough. A lot of concern for Shea, but he was a-okay. The car, not so much. Lucas Feckery and Jet Bowling getting close, bowling in the dirt this time. More issues at the start of a race. Lots of dust, so it's hard to see who's gone off or what happened. But from this angle, you can see Probst and Sherlock making contact, and that started a chain reaction. Shin makes light contact with Patrick Wood's Toff. And Lucas Facuri gets turned around again. And Gerard Shi goes again, getting loose on the outside. The Chinese driver was lucky not to go round or back in front of the oncoming pack. Michael Shin and Jacob Abel get very close. Very, very close. Abel almost getting launched, and yet somehow they both survive. Our final single-seater crash takes place after Liam Skeets crosses the line, winning the New Zealand Grand Prix for 2024. A few more cars cross the line, then Bryce Aaron hits the wall, and Roman Belinsky hits Aaron. One hell of a way for the new champion to end the season. Let's move on to sports cars and the 2024 Asian Le Mans Series. Plenty of GT cars here. You know at least several of them are going to hit each other at some point. A Mercedes and a Ferrari are a nice start. Not that the LMP cars can't have their moments. In fact, they are almost even better at it. This car tries to have his crash as sneakily as possible. I can still see you. The DeCoin team were leading the race until this happened. Ollie Milroy in the McLaren tries to have his spin where the cameras can't see him. I think someone will notice they're missing that. They will notice they're missing that, right? Here's Mathieu Vaxivière fighting for the lead in the rain at Sepang with just 20 minutes left on the clock. He's praying for a tow truck. Or not, he did very well to keep it going. Someone else trying to sneak through the frame without being caught on camera. Pretty sure Ian Loggy was scared into a crash. At least there was no contact. Hey, finally an Audi gets involved, taking out the same Ferrari we saw earlier. I think starts in sports car racing may be the hardest of all. Lots of cars separated into classes of varying speeds. If you're at the front and you spin, that's a hell of a lot of collateral you gotta hope avoids you. These here, they were the unlucky ones. Giorgio Roda goes for an ambitious move on Ahmed El Hati, and this is just one reason the 99 racing car didn't win the title. We've seen this AF course car before, but this time it's Francois Perrodo going for a spin. Now this is a strange one. The contact to the back of the Porsche looks fairly light, and yet it removes the entire rear half of the car. These two make contact once, and then again. The D-Station Aston Martin had broken suspension from the first contact. Now they both probably have steering issues. Possibly brain issues too. That is a very fast way to leave the circuit. And with all that sand out there, not very easy to slow down. The same car again, but this time he loses it after contact with someone else. Sometimes you can just watch two cars going round a corner and know contact is inevitable. When the LMP cars are making their way through traffic, there are occasional casualties. The 91 Porsche is turned around, but still somehow went on to be champion. Even after Ahmed El Hati destroyed the Porsche in a crash unseen, whilst the 91 would go on to be GT champion, the 99 would lose out after several unfortunate incidents. The D-Station Aston gives one of the LMP cars a cheeky shove. That's a Ferrari going round and sliding back onto the track backwards. Ian Loggy locks everything up and slams into one of the cars in front. If all else fails, use a competitor as a brake. Now this was one hell of a fight. Ricardo Pera gets the Ferrari past the Aston Martin. A nice clean move, and now he can pull away unmolested, right? Well, Ben Tuck was obviously not best pleased. He nudges Pera into the wall, making the Ferrari around about a foot shorter. This is just a case of too many cars approaching the same corner at the same time. A GT Mercedes ends up worst of all. This incident was caused by much the same thing, and just when you think it's over, someone else gets barreled out of the race. That D-Station Aston Martin gets up to a lot of mischief, getting turned around by Prince Ibrahim, but to be fair, the Aston did squeeze him. And the crash that ended the championship. LMP cars moving through the GT field is always a challenge, and worst case scenario is something like this happening. No one's fault, but the damage to cars and barriers means the red flags had to come out, and luckily everyone was fine. As a bonus, let's look at some of the crashes from the Bathurst 12-hour race. This thing's called a vortex, a car resembling a whirlpool. Fighting over the same piece of tarmac on a track as narrow as Bathurst is a recipe for disaster. The one-on-one fights are tricky business, and taking your opportunities is paramount, even at the expense of the person in front of you. Charlie Verts treats his BMW very roughly along the Bathurst wall. Lapping back markers is just as difficult here as it was in the Asian Le Mans series, with many of the outcomes being the same. The number 10 would rejoin later, but the damage had obviously not been fully repaired. Back into the wall for you. Rain at Bathurst is like turning your video game to impossible mode, and with it being a mountain, the crash can go on and on and on as you glide down the hill. More backmarker problems, the problem being the backmarker in the way, and the solution is a rather rudimentary one. We are looking at the wrong cars here. It's the ones in front getting into trouble. Michael Grenier takes to the grass and almost gets collected by Van der Linde. So as Charlie Verts slides along the wall, leave your thoughts down below, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching and have a good one.